All right, let's talk about the money in college sports. It's this wild mix of education, big time entertainment, and, well, a whole lot of business. We're talking massive contracts, incredible facilities, the whole deal. But how the money actually works, it's super complex. So let's try and break it down. So let's just start with a number, a really, really big number. In 2023, NCAA Division I athletic programs brought in almost $19 billion in revenue. Yep, that's billion with a B. This is not some small campus activity. We're talking about a full-blown industry. And right away, here's the big mystery. College sports, they operate under the banner of nonprofit universities. They're not supposed to be making a profit. So if you have $19 billion coming in the door, where is it all going? That is a question we are going to try to answer. To really get what's happening today, we gotta rewind a bit, because this kind of financial explosion, it's actually a pretty new thing. For most of its history, college sports were popular, for sure, but the money involved was on a totally different planet. This chart really gives you some perspective. Okay, look at 1985. The average big football program was spending about $2.4 million. Fast forward to 97, and that nearly doubled. You see the same thing in basketball. I mean, look at women's basketball. Expenses more than tripled. But as big as that jump seems, these numbers are basically pocket change compared to today. And boom, here's the new reality. We went from a few $1 million in expenses in the late 90s to a single school like Ohio State pulling in almost $250 million in revenue just a couple of decades later. So what on earth happened? What opened the floodgates? Well, the answer is this perfect storm of media, marketing, and just fierce competition that completely changed the financial game for college sports. Let's look at what really kicked things into high gear. Okay, so money started pouring in from everywhere, but the single biggest driver was television. Think about it. In a world where we can stream or record almost anything, live sports is one of the last things you have to watch live. That makes it incredibly valuable to networks and advertisers. So media rights deals just exploded. Conferences started shuffling teams around just to get a bigger slice of that TV pie. Then you have the college football playoff, which added another massive pile of cash. And on top of that, corporate sponsorships, merchandise sales, and huge donations all went through the roof. And if you want just one perfect example of how much money we're talking about, look at March Madness. The NCAA's deal for that one tournament now brings in over $1 billion every single year. That money then gets sent out to hundreds of schools, basically fueling the entire system. So, we've got this massive wave of cash coming in. But remember our question. Since they're nonprofits, where does it all go? Well, it goes into what everyone calls a spending arms race. To understand this, you kind of have to know this one economic idea. It's called Bowen's revenue theory of cost. It sounds complicated, but it's pretty simple. It just says that in nonprofits, like a university, costs just rise to meet whatever revenue you have. There's this huge incentive for an athletic department to spend every dollar it gets to try and win, because unlike a regular business, there are no owners to pay out profits to. So, who benefits most from all that spending? This is pretty eye-opening. Studies show that for every new dollar of revenue that comes into a big-time program, about 12 cents of it goes to paying coaches and staff. And how much goes to the athletes themselves as scholarships? Just 2 cents. With no salary caps, the competition for the best coaches just exploded to soak up all that new money. And here it is. This is the real-world result of that whole dynamic. In an incredible 39 out of 50 states, the highest paid public employee isn't the governor, it's not a top surgeon at a state hospital, it's not even the university president. It's a college football or basketball coach. This one image says everything about the spending arms race. But here's something that's really important to get. Not all Division I schools are living this way. For the biggest schools, the ones in the power conferences like the SEC or the Big Ten, the money situation is pretty much what you'd imagine. They're basically self-sufficient businesses. A third of their money comes from those giant TV deals, with donors and ticket sales making up other huge chunks. They make their own cash. Now let's flip the coin and look at the smaller D1 schools at the FCS level. It is a completely different world. A massive 73% of their money doesn't come from TV or tickets. It comes from subsidies, either straight from the university's main budget or from fees that all students have to pay. It just shows you there are really two different universes operating under the same Division I name. So, for a long time, this model seemed like it was set in stone. More money comes in, more money gets spent on coaches and facilities. But then, just recently, the entire game got turned on its head. The one area where spending was always forbidden, paying the athletes directly, just got blown wide open. It's really because of two huge shifts. First, you have name, image, and likeness, NIL, which lets athletes get paid by companies for endorsements. And then the really big one is the recent House versus NCAA settlement. For the first time ever, it's going to let schools pay a share of their revenue directly to the players. And the financial hit from this is going to be huge. Just look at the projections. The average big-time school is looking at a new expense of over $20 million a year. That's money that used to go into shiny new facilities or another assistant coach's salary, and now it's going to go right to the players. And this brings up a huge, maybe even an existential question for athletic departments. You see, for decades, football and men's basketball have basically paid the bills for all the other sports, swimming, tennis, track, you name it. So now, with a huge chunk of that profit going to the players who actually earn it, a lot of people are asking, what happens to the sports that don't make any money? So all of this leads us to a massive crossroads. The basic financial model of college sports, the one that's been around for a century, is being totally rewritten as we speak. And the people in charge are really struggling with what the future is even supposed to look like. A recent survey of athletic directors lays out the debate perfectly. Do they go all in on a professional model, where athletes are basically employees who can collectively bargain, or do they try to pull back, maybe get help from Congress to create an exemption, and go back to a model that's more about education by putting a cap on all this crazy spending? And that really leaves us with the final big question. When players are getting paid directly by their schools, when they're signing million-dollar endorsement deals, and when they're on the edge of becoming university employees, what's the difference between them and the pros? The billion-dollar game has changed forever, and what it even means to be college sports is being decided right now, right in front of us. Thanks for tuning in.